The year is 1575. In the heart of feudal Japan, two armies prepare for a confrontation that will change the history of warfare forever. On one side, the feared cavalry of the Takeda clan, considered unbeatable for decades. On the other, a general who bet everything on a weapon few took seriously. When the sun rose on that June 28th, the Battle of Nagashino was about to prove that no army is truly invincible. Japan in the 16th century was a country in flames. Warlords known as daimyo fought over territory in a period called Sengoku, the Age of Warring States. In that chaos, three names stood out. Oda Nobunaga, Lord of Owari, was the most powerful man in central Japan. Ambitious and ruthless, he dreamed of unifying the country. At his side, as an ally, stood Tokugawa Ieyasu. On the opposing side, Takeda Katsuyori had inherited the most feared clan in Japan, founded by his father, the legendary Shingen. Katsuyori needed to prove his worth, and he chose the worst possible path to do it. Before we continue, if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing to support us. It takes just a second and makes all the difference. In June of 1575, Takeda Katsuyori marched his army toward Nagashino Castle, located in the province of Mikawa in the central region of Honshu Island, Japan. The original plan was different. Katsuyori was counting on a traitor inside the castle of Okazaki, a strategic stronghold belonging to Ieyasu, but the conspiracy was uncovered and the traitor executed. Without his ace in the hole, Katsuyori redirected his army and besieged Nagashino, defended by only 500 men under the command of Okudaira Sadamasa. With each passing day, the situation inside the castle grew worse. Food and ammunition dwindled. The defenders knew that without reinforcements, they would fall. It was then that a soldier named Tori Tsunemon volunteered for a near-suicidal mission. In the early hours of the 23rd, he climbed down the castle walls, plunged into the Toyokawa River, and swam through the darkness, cutting through the nets the Takeda had stretched across the water. He reached the other side, lit a beacon signaling his success, and made his way to Okazaki, where he received confirmation that Nobunaga and Ieyasu would march the following day. On his return, however, Tsunemon was captured. Katsuyori, attempting to break the morale of the defenders, offered him his life in exchange for an announcement to tell the castle's soldiers that no relief was coming. Tsunemon pretended to agree, but when the moment came, he shouted the opposite, that help was on the way and that they should hold on. For his loyalty, he was crucified alive, while his former comrades watched from the castle walls. Knowing that a relief force was approaching, and with the castle still not in his hands, Katsuyori called a war council. The more experienced generals, such as Baba Nobuharu, advised retreat. The younger ones thirsted for battle. Katsuyori chose to fight, and that decision would seal the fate of the Takeda clan. On the night of June 27th, Oda Nobunaga and Tokugawa Ieyasu arrived at Shirahara, approximately 6 miles west of Nagashino Castle. Together, they commanded 38,000 men, more than double Katsuyori's forces. But Nobunaga was too shrewd to simply advance. He had a plan. Nobunaga ordered the construction of a long wooden palisade along the bank of the Rengogawa River. The barrier had strategic gaps, allowing his own men to advance when needed. Behind it, he positioned his arquebusiers, soldiers armed with the teppo, the musket introduced by the Portuguese decades earlier. The idea was simple and brutal. Let the Takeda cavalry collide with the barrier while being swept away by arquebus fire. The positioning was careful. On the right flank, Tokugawa Ieyasu's forces held the line with contingents of 1,000 men each, led by generals such as Okubo Tadayo, Honda Tadakatsu, and Sakakibara Yasumasa. In the center and left flank stood Nobunaga's forces, with his finest general, Hashiba Hideyoshi, guarding Nobunaga's own headquarters. Across the Rengogawa, Katsuyori divided his 15,000 men into 5 divisions of 3,000 each. One remained to maintain the siege on the castle. Another stayed under his direct command as reserve. The remaining 3, under Baba Nobuharu, Naito Masatoyo, and Yamagata Masakage would form the main assault. Nobunaga still had one secret move in reserve. He ordered Sakai Tadetsugu to depart before dawn with 3,500 men to strike from the rear the Takeda forces still besieging the castle. With that, Katsuyori's main army would be trap-attacked from the front and from behind at the same time. The siege was closing in, but it was Katsuyori who was being surrounded. In the early hours of June 28th, while Sakai Tadetsugu moved his 3,500 men silently through the darkness toward the castle, Katsuyori's main army prepared to attack. At around 6 in the morning, the Takeda Cavalry launched its charge toward the Allied positions. Yamagata Masakage's contingent was the first to make contact with the Allied line. The other generals followed in sequence. It was exactly what Nobunaga had anticipated. Behind the palisade, his arquebusiers opened fire. The riders who survived the volleys found themselves against a wall of spears from Oda and Tokugawa infantry. Every attack ended the same way, in blood and retreat. The Battle of Nagashino demonstrated there the devastating power of firearms in open field combat. Nobunaga had positioned his arquebusiers under the command of 5 officers, and the volleys were relentless. The Takeda attacked repeatedly, but the palisade held and the fire did not stop. On the right flank, Baba Nobuharu managed to gain some ground, but was contained by Generals Shibata Katsui and Hashiba Hideyoshi. Meanwhile, behind the Takeda lines, Sakai Tadetsugu attacked the forces besieging the castle. Seeing the assault, the defenders of Nagashino opened the gates and charged out, weakened by hunger and illness as they were. Katsuyori's main army was now pressing against a front it could not break, while its rear collapsed behind it. Around midday, Katsuyori threw his last reserves into the attack. It made no difference. About an hour later, Nobunaga ordered his men to fall back toward the fences, feigning weakness. The exhausted and bloodied Takeda soldiers read the movement as an opening and advanced directly into a trap. Nobunaga reversed the order immediately and launched a devastating counterattack. The Takeda army collapsed. The toll of the Battle of Nagashino was catastrophic for the Takeda clan. According to records from the period, approximately 10,000 men were killed on the Takeda side, 2/3 of their attacking force. On the Allied side, casualties reached around 6,000 men. A clear victory, but one that came at a steep price, even for the winners. But the number of dead was not the most painful loss for Katsuyori. Among the fallen were some of the most respected generals of the clan men. His father, Takeda Shingen, had spent years forging. Baba Nobuharu, Naito Masatoyo, Yamagata Masakage, and the Sanada brothers were among the dead. The military elite of the Takeda had been wiped out in a single day. Katsuyori returned to his stronghold in Kai with a shattered army and no generals. He would hold on for another 7 years, but never again had the strength to seriously threaten his enemies. The Takeda clan was finally eliminated in 1582, and the defeat at Nagashino was the blow from which it never recovered. For centuries, the Battle of Nagashino was told the same way. Nobunaga, the military genius, used the famous 3-stage volley, 3 rotating rows of arquebusiers firing in sequence to destroy the Takeda cavalry. But modern research has questioned that version. The most reliable record of the period, the Shincho Koki, makes no mention whatsoever of the 3-stage volley. The theory is believed to have emerged centuries later, in 1903, based on accounts from the Edo period. What the evidence shows is different, and perhaps even more interesting. Scientific analysis of projectiles found on the battlefield revealed that the Allied bullets were imported from southern China, Korea, and Thailand. The Takeda bullets, on the other hand, were made from melted copper coins due to a lack of lead. Nobunaga won not only through strategy, but through logistics and resources that Katsuyori simply had no way to match. The Battle of Nagashino was not just a military victory. It was a turning point in the history of Japan. It showed that discipline, planning, and access to resources could overcome even the most feared cavalry of the era. Nobunaga did not win because he was a lone genius with a brilliant idea. He won because he built a system that was superior to his enemies in every way. And amid all that strategy and politics, history also preserves the name of Tori Suniman, a common soldier who chose to die shouting the truth rather than live repeating a lie. His name has survived 450 years. The names of many generals have not. If you made it this far, thank you so much. We hope this story was worth your time. If you are not yet subscribed to the channel, consider doing so now. It is the best way to support us and make sure that more stories like this one find their way to you.